First, I'd like to thank you for all coming, and we have some important information about a homicide that happened on or about May 26, 2019, where Arezu Kashify was murdered by her husband, Wahid. Wahid fled the United States and ended up in Kabul, Afghanistan. Due to a lot of work on a lot of people's part, from the Department of Justice, the FBI, DOD, Congresswoman Kathy Rogers' office, we're here to announce that Wahid has been captured. This is a case where we tracked this guy on 3 continents. And he will be coming back to the United States, hopefully very shortly after extradition hearings, to face up for the murder of his wife. Detective Melville, it was because of his diligence and his hard work that this individual was brought to justice. So, Marc, I'm going to let you give a little bit of a snapshot of what the last almost 3.5 years has been like for you tracking this individual down. And again, I cannot stress that without the help of the gentlemen and ladies over here from the FBI, 2 of them very actively working to solve this would not have happened. So this is a true example of what partnership and relationships are really all about. So thank you for helping us bring this individual to justice. Marc?
Back on May 26th of 2019, Ms. Kashify had been at a friend's house, and she received a phone call from her husband, Wahid. And after that phone call, she returned home, and that was the last time that Arezu was seen alive. We received a missing person report a few days later, as well as a call into CPS saying that they needed to come and pick up these children because Mr. Kashify had abandoned his children with a friend. It initially had come out that he was going to leave them in the apartment, and thankfully the friend had said, no, my wife will come and pick up the kids. So once we got that, we did a welfare check at the house. We didn't find anything initially, but then we had a be on the lookout for his vehicle. We found his vehicle at the airport, and after doing a search warrant, we found a letter inside of his vehicle that said, my name's Wahid Kashify. I live at this address. It happened on Graves. I live at this address. Here's the number, or here's the code to my phone. There's a video or 2 videos in there you can watch and judge. We took that very seriously. We did a search warrant on the apartment, believing that there's potentially a way that he had been able to hide her or secrete her someplace that she was unable to get help. During that search warrant, we found Arezu's body in the freezer. She was hidden underneath the false bottom of the freezer, had food and things like that on top of her. One of our intelligence analysts was able to get in touch with Homeland Security. They were able to determine that Wahid had fled here on the 27th of May. He flew to Seattle, and later that night boarded a plane for Dubai. And I believe it was on the 30th of May he landed in Kabul. That day, while we were recovering Arezu's body from the freezer, I received a phone call from an FBI agent who was stationed there. And I'm not sure if I can say your name, so I'll just leave it as an FBI agent. And he said, I've got information, or I hear that you have a homicide suspect who potentially fled here. I said, we did. And he immediately started working on that. And that was from day 1 of us finding the body. From that time forward, we're talking, nearly 2.5 years, nearly 3.5 years of diligent searches by us, by the FBI, by the Department of Justice. And during that process, we were able to determine that he had got multiple different aliases. He had got a new passport and a new name. And using all of that information, we were able to get a red notice, which is a worldwide extradition warrant, essentially. And we continued to put out information, put out feelers, trying to find anything that we could to determine where he had gone. We determined at one point that he had fled Afghanistan to Iran. After being in Iran for a period of time, he fled back to Afghanistan before going to Turkey, and then eventually landing in Europe at a location that we're going to leave unnamed right now due to the extradition issues that we're expecting to be facing with this. So during all of this, the information we received was that he was going to be at a volleyball tournament. That was something that he was very passionate about. He was an avid volleyball player here in Spokane with the local Afghani community. And during our searches for him, we determined that he potentially would be attending this volleyball tournament at this location. We let the authorities there know. They arrived in that area and actually successfully took him into custody, and he has been incarcerated in that local jail since that time. So,
any questions?
Amanda Rowley with CRIM 2. This has been since 2019,
Yes,
a long process, and you commended the work that's gone into it. Can you give a little more perspective on just the challenges you faced getting to this point?
Well, the biggest challenge is initially when he fled to Afghanistan. It's a non-extradition country. He had extended family there, a lot of places that he could go, and there's unknown numbers of people that he potentially could have had to help him hide once he got there because of his military contacts and his time spent helping the United States government during their fight against terrorism there.
And can you confirm again, did I miss that, the day he was put into custody?
It was the 29th of October.
Of this year?
Yes. Just 2 weeks ago now. Yeah.
Has family overseas or here locally been helpful in that process?
Initially, the family was. There hasn't been a lot of contact with them after the initial portion of the investigations. I mean, obviously, 2021 was a challenging time to then continue communication with family that's over there just because of the transition of the American military leaving. So since that time, I don't know that there's been a whole lot of communication with them. I still have to get in touch with the family if they haven't already been made aware, but we're still working towards that.
And as far as the case goes, it was 3 years ago now? Math is hard.
Yes, ma'am.
Does the length of time it took to get him into custody, has that impacted the proceedings of the case by any means?
I don't think that it's affected the proceedings of the case. It's just made it challenging, just moving forward, trying to get him into custody. It just makes it difficult to. I don't even really know the words to put forth for that, but it didn't affect any proceedings. There's no statute of limitations on that particular crime. The crime of murder has no statute. We can pursue that, until the end of times if we can find him. So.
Yeah, the evidence is the evidence. We'll put the evidence on as soon as we get him back and he goes to trial.